Hageman from Wyoming for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Ms. Stone Manning, Governor Mark Gordon of my home state sent a letter on April 25th to Secretary Haaland asking when the mine plan amendment for the Black Butte mine near Rock Springs would be forthcoming from the department. This application was approved by the state in 2021, but OSMRE has continuously requested more and conflicting information from the operator. The amendment has been through 3 NEPA reviews, all of which have been completed, but I understand it is still pending at the office of the solicitor. Why does this approval continue to be delayed, and when can we expect it to be completed?
Congresswoman, thank you for the question, but I believe that's a question for Deputy Director Owens.
Yes.
Okay, Deputy Director Owens.
Yes, thank you for the question. We are processing the Black Butte mining plan modification. It is, as you noted, it is with the solicitors. We've had some recent adverse court decisions on our mining plan decisions, and so we want to make sure that as we move forward, the decisions that we make are going to be durable. They're going to be legally defensible.
Do you have an estimated date by when you will have it completed?
I'm sorry?
Do you have an estimated date by when you will have this completed?
I don't have an estimated date, but I can say that we are hoping that it will soon be out.
Before the end of the year?
I can't say that today, but I can get a better understanding and give you a better answer.
Director Stone Manning, are you aware that the USDA Forest Service has administrative responsibility to manage the Taylor Grazing Act grazing districts in the National Forest System under the Federal Land Policy Management Act?
Yes.
When writing the Conservation and Landscape Health Rule, did BLM confer with USDA Forest Service?
Congresswoman, thank you for the question. We did confer with several different departments across
Did you confer with the USDA Forest Service?
We did.
Are you aware that the NEPA requires agencies to assess and resolve programmatic conflicts before moving forward with a rule? Yet BLM has claimed a categorical exclusion for this rule under NEPA. Is that correct?
Congressman, yes, this rule is procedural in nature, which is why it only requires a CADEX.
Well, that doesn't seem right. Director Stone Manning, another question has to do with the conservation leasing system proposed by the BLM Conservation and Landscape Health Rule. Under the current interior system, oil and gas leases on BLM lands are valued using a market analysis, and FLPMA requires the Secretary of the Interior to maximize revenues for the benefit of the American people. Are you aware of that?
Can you repeat that?
Are you aware that the FLPMA requires the Secretary of Interior to maximize revenues for the benefit of the American people?
Yes, and I'm also aware that FLPMA asks us to balance those uses.
Okay, and to my knowledge, there is no system currently that exists for determining how conservation lease values would be established, which will then leave it to valuation by third parties or pure speculation. That seems by definition to be arbitrary. Wouldn't you agree?
Congresswoman, I would not agree with that.
Okay. Director Stone Manning, we have a chart. Well, I guess we don't have a chart in here. Oh, right over here. That shows oil production on tribal lands has decreased during this administration, and consequently approval of tribal drilling permits has declined significantly under your watch. In fact, in fiscal year 2020, under the Trump administration, the BLM approved 405 trial APDs. And since you've been here, there have only been 158 that have been approved. The revenues from energy production on tribal lands are very important for tribal economies, as I'm sure you're most likely aware. This administration often talks about equity and about how energy development is somehow, and production is somehow racist. Yet the Department of Interior itself estimates that undeveloped reserves of coal, natural gas, and oil on tribal lands could generate nearly $1 trillion in revenues for tribes and surrounding communities. For many tribes, energy development is the primary revenue generator to fund education, infrastructure, and other public services on tribal land. Getting those permits approved is essential for many tribes. And I think it's worth pointing out that this administration's policies are very destructive to the interests of our tribes and our Native populations? Will you commit to working with Congress and the tribes to expedite approval of tribal applications for permits to drill?
Congresswoman, thank you for the question. We work very closely with our colleagues at BIA in implementing Indian allotments. And I would also proffer again that we're at an all-time high of production on our federal lands.
You haven't answered my question. Will you work closely with Congress and the tribes to ensure that we can expedite the tribal applications for permits to drill?
Congresswoman, I would happily work with your office and with your tribal constituents on implementing the law fairly.
Again, you didn't answer my question, but that's just the way that it goes with this administration. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank all